Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Anti-Galamsey protesters granted bail by an Accra High Court despite Office of Attorney General opposing their bail application. Leader of the group, Oliver Bakavomawo, will however remain in custody. Also coming up on the program, President Akufo-Addo criticized for dismissing claims his government is stifling dissent through detention of protesters.
The courts in Ghana are independent institutions, and they have been all through this period of the Fourth Republic. People misconduct themselves and they're brought before court. It's for the court to deal with them. That's not a matter.
It has nothing to do about politics.
It has nothing to do with the executive.
Much later on the program, decision time, as organised labour meets to decide on whether or not to proceed with October 10 strike over Galamsey menace after intervention by President Akufo-Addo. We're live at the crunch meeting currently underway. And you just had there some scores of Ghana card applicants left stranded across NIA offices nationwide as staff began strike over conditions of service. We'll bring you details of that plus some more. Thank you very much for joining us today. Now, let's head to the Law Court complex now. And at least 8 anti-Galamsey protesters have been granted bail by an Accra High Court. It is important to note that lawyers from the Attorney General's office once again opposed the application for bail made by lawyers for the protesters. Meanwhile, the court has refused bail application for Oliver Bakavomawo, lead convener for the Democracy Hub protesters. Lord Edwasare is in court. He'll be joining us very shortly. But ahead of that, President Akufo-Addo has also been speaking on this matter. Now, his recent comment on the arrest of the protesters here in Ghana is receiving some criticism. The president, in an interview with France 24, dismissed suggestions that his government is stifling dissent following the arrest of some 53 protesters who had hit the street to campaign against illegal mining. Just listen, and then we'll go to Lord Edwasare for the latest in court.
I'm not responsible for jailing people in Ghana. The courts in Ghana are independent institutions, and they have been all through this period of the Fourth Republic. People misconduct themselves and they're brought before court. It's for the court to deal with them. That's not a matter.
It has nothing to do about politics.
It has nothing to do with the executive. And their behavior is what lands them in problem with the police and with the courts. It's not the protests. How can the president, who himself, his political career was aided by leading protests, have problems with protests? I don't have problems with protests. And nothing is done in Ghana to prevent people from airing their views on anything.
And you heard that President Akufo-Addo dismissing suggestions that his government or presidency has anything to do with the detention of these protesters. We'll go into that and bring you some constitutional back into whether or not what the president is saying is factual. But I did promise you that Lord Edwasare is in court, where we understand that 8 of the anti-Galamsey protesters have been granted bail, except the lead convener of the group, Oliver Bakavomawo. Lord Edwasare is in court for us. He joins us live on the line. Lord, just tell us more about the argument for and against the bail applications and the decision of the court, really.
Right, so Beatrice, today there were 2 courts hearing the matters of the Democratic Hub protesters. Now, the first batch had Eloma Abebu, also known as Ama Governor, and they consisted of 9 persons. Now, all 9 of them were granted bail, right, of 70,000 with 2 sureties, and the judge ordered that they provide their Ghana card as well as report to the police station every week until the final determination of the case. But here's the caveat of it, or the interesting twist of it. When the lawyers of Ama Governor and the other 8 made the bail application, in their arguments after filing that bail application, the prosecution side, state attorneys, opposed the bail application. Now, Beatrice, you recall that a little over a week ago, or less than a week actually, Attorney General Godfrey Obadame had indicated while addressing magistrates and judges during their conference that bail applications should be considered to expedite the case involved with the protesters.
Exactly.
Now,
so why was
this,
yeah, exactly. So why was there a contrary argument, as it were?
That is hard to tell because they didn't give any reason. They just outrightly opposed the application. But after listening to the arguments from both sides, the judge indicated that the bail application for the protesters had merit and so granted the application. Now, to the other courts which had Oliver Barker-Vormawor, Felicity Nelson, Cedric Bansa, and others, they were granted bail as well. But when it came to the issue of Oliver Barker-Vormawor, the judge, hearing the matter, indicated that Oliver Barker-Vormawor, as it stands, is on bail on a different charge, which is treason felony. And so he was not convinced that in the event that he is granted the bail, he would, one, appear before the court, and two, not commit another offense. But his lead counsel, Dr. Justice Ramsay, indicated that that cannot be an issue because, first of all, he should be granted the bail per what the law or some case studies have proved that until he's proven guilty, he's innocent. And also indicated that in this case, the charges proffered against Oliver Barker-Vormawor are misdemeanors. And this is a case where he's charged for treason felony on a different charge. And even with that, for the past 3 years, he's been coming to court. So it's not a case that because of this misdemeanors, he will not show up in court. And so he actually prayed the court to grant Oliver Barker-Vormawor the bail, same as Felicity Nelson. Dr. Ramsay represented Felicity Nelson and then Oliver Barker-Vormawor. After listening to his arguments, he granted Felicity Nelson a 20,000 Ghana cedi bail with 2 sureties, but denied Oliver Barker-Vormawor, maintaining his stance that he is not convinced that Barker-Vormawor would not commit another crime if he is granted a bail and also reappear. And so, but the total of the protesters that have been granted a bail as it stands are 21. When I was leaving, the last person was leaving the court premises. The last person's bail application was being heard of. He's in the person of deportees.
And so, if I get you correctly, 21 out of how many? 53 have been granted bail?
Indeed, Beatrice. 21 out of 53 protesters have been granted bail. Just 21 are the ones that the applications were considered this morning.
And the 21 also includes AMA Governor in a different call from that of Oliver Barker-Vormawor, just getting clarity. Indeed.
So it started with 9, where AMA Governor was held. That was the criminal court 4. And then the different court that had Oliver Barker-Vormawor, that's the general jurisdiction 12, that had about 12 or 13 protesters, I have to do my math correctly. And that's what sums it up, Beatrice.
Thank you very much. And that was Lord Edward Sare. He's our court correspondent. And you're still here on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Shortly, we'll be going to Parliament, where one of the committees is currently interviewing the CEO of the Minerals Commission, and would be going there and be bringing you more as regards what's happening so far. We know that he's saying that small-scale mining is reserved for Ghanaians only. We'll be crossing over to Parliament and bring you some more of what the CEO of the Minerals Commission is saying.
At Minerals Commission, when we make this, they will tell us, oh, we have guinea worm. In fact, it even got worse when we say, oh, the chances of success for exploration is barely 5%. Then they said, no, we have schools under trees, we have guinea worm, we have this, we have this, we have that. So we will not do it. So since 1989, we've not been doing exploration. So if you ask me, as an officer of the Minerals Commission, 2nd April 2002, being the place for 22.5 years now, the fundamental cause of illegal mining, or galamsey, And please respectfully hear me out. I'll give you about 5 more causes of galamsey. But the main problem that is driving illegal mining is getting a place for the miners to work. Until that is resolved, we only go around in circles. So then I believe the question then is, how are we getting a place for them to work? 4 ways. 1, through the graciousness of the last gay people. So Anglo Ashanti, Newmont, Go Foods and Co. give us a place, we license it for them. That's what we've been doing. Number 2, persons whose licenses have been cancelled for want of performance, we give it to them. Number 3, where by law, when you are giving an area to explore, let's say if you are giving 30 square kilometers and you are supposed to explore, after 3 years, you are supposed to give half back to government or back to the Minerals Commission, yes. So when those ones are returned, they come with what we call a surrender report. We give it back to the small-scale people. Then the last one is where some of the large-scale people come to us and say, oh, we've done a lot of exploration. We want it very big. So Minerals Commission take it and give it out. Then quickly we block it, designate and give it out. Like for example, Pesos Mining, they have approached us. We're giving it out. So these are the areas. And just about 3, 4, 5 years ago, we started exploration on our own. So Minerals Commission has been giving money to geological survey. We have the Bonfa block. We've given some money to go UMAT and geological survey. It's in our budget. Parliament approved it for us, and they are doing the exploration.
And you had the Chief Executive Officer of the Minerals Commission. He's currently before the Assurances Committee of Parliament. He's been probed, I believe, regarding the galamsey or illegal mining fight conversation that we've been having over the last few weeks. And you heard him explaining, really, the processes of giving licenses out. If you watched us on Facebook, we're showing you live footages from Parliament, and we'll bring you more as and when we have it. But earlier I was telling you that the president has been dismissing suggestions that the arrest, he knows something about it, of the arrest of the Democracy Hub protesters, and he dismissed that his government or presidency is involved. Well, let me bring you but we know that the case is also being prosecuted by the Attorney General, who under the Constitution is closed with prosecutorial powers. And you heard earlier Lord Edwasari telling us that the AG's reps even opposed that bail application to be given to the individuals who were arrested earlier. Now, Article 88(1) of the 1992 Constitution states that there shall be an Attorney General of Ghana who shall be a Minister of State and the principal legal advisor to the government. Article 88(3) of the same Constitution says the Attorney General shall be responsible for the initiation and conduct of all prosecutions and criminal offences. Again, when you talk about the powers of the Attorney General, it commences and discontinues criminal and civil cases in the name of the Republic. Well, the main opposition, National Democratic Congress, has also accused President Akufo-Addo of being disingenuous in his stance on free speech and public dissent, despite his claims of non-interference in the judiciary's handling of recent protests. In an interview with France 24, now the Director of Legal Affairs for the NDC, lawyer Eduji Tamaklo, says the president's body language and actions suggest that he is not supportive of dissent, referencing his reluctance to intervene in the arrest of the protesters. Listen.
The president has never been in support of any dissent. And if you look at his body language towards persons who tell him in the face the failure that he had brought onto this country, the mismanagement, both of our environment, the economy, education, among other things. Look, a clear example. Recently, when the president of the Ghana Journalists Association, right in front of him, rebuked him relative to the fight against galamsey. When the GJA president went back to sit with the president, his body language was clear that he was not happy with what the GJA president said. Look at the high-handed manner in which the Ghana police, the Attorney General, acting upon the instruction of the president, had dealt with these protesters against Galamsey. And so when the president says on France 24 that, oh, he's not a jailer and he's not what have you, he's been disingenuous. Because first of all, under Article 83 of the 1992 Constitution, the person who initiates all criminal prosecution is the Attorney General. What is even more curious in the specific case of the protesters is that, look, for misdemeanors, it is the police officers who usually will come to the circuit courts, district courts to prosecute. But in this specific case, the Attorney General has taken over the case and the one doing the prosecution. What it tells you is that the president has vested interest in what happens to the prosecutors. And for me, and that is why the NDC has expressed serious misgivings. So it's as though you are even punishing them before their guilt is established before the court. That certainly is not how to encourage protest.
When they were in court, their lawyers made the argument.
And the Attorney General opposed the bail application.
And you heard that Ediji Tamaklo, he is the Director of Legal Affairs for the opposition, and they say some 16 minutes past the hour of 12. You're still here on the Midday News. When we come back, we'll bring you details of that organized labor meeting that is to decide whether or not to listen to the president to give the government more time in finding solution to the Galamsey menace. Don't go away.
Big money, money, money. Want more money, more moolah, more kudi, more sika, or more l'argent?
Yes.
Then win more moolah with 30 Ghana Cedis free credits when you play Game Park's Pick 1 and Pick 4 games for the first time.
How?
Just dial *946# or visit the nearest Game Park agent to play, get your first bet, and win on us with a 30 Ghana Cedi welcome bonus.
Oh, yes. It's all about the moolah.
Win more moolah with Game Park today. Go to GameParkGames.com for more information. Game Park is licensed by the NLA. Play responsibly. Not suitable persons under 18 years.
And you're still here on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Thank you for staying. Now, the leadership of Organised Labour is currently locked up in a crunch meeting to decide whether or not to proceed on their October 10 strike. President Akufo-Addo joined a meeting with Organised Labour on Thursday, October 3, asked the unions to reconsider their decision and allow the government ample time to tackle the Galamsey menace. The threat to strike was in response to the government's failure to fulfill labour's demands to halt all small-scale mining activities, as well as review the law that permits mining in forest reserves. A resurgence of unbridled mining activities has led to severe pollution of Ghana's water bodies and thousands of acres of forest reserves devastated. Now, Labour Affairs correspondent Daniel Opoku joins us very short. He actually joins us live now to bring us an update on this. Daniel, if you can hear me, just tell us, is a decision time for Labour? Has the meeting started yet?
Right, that's quite interesting. Because currently I am at the TUC building where Organised Labour is locked up in a meeting, and the leadership of the main leadership of Organised Labour, they have been caught up in the office of the Secretary General, that's Mr. Joshua, having the meeting before coming down to brief the plenary. But the indications I'm picking is that it appears Organised Labour would want to proceed with the strike because the national leadership, their leaders have not descended yet, and the entire members of the current constituent are so much upset, and the temperature is very terrible that they are expecting an announcement to begin the nationwide strike coming Thursday. I don't foresee Organised Labour retreating. Rather, I see Organised Labour proceeding with the strikers as speak currently. So only they are waiting for the leadership to come down and give them adequate briefing on the subject matter.
But are you able to tell us really the general mood there of Organised Labour as members arrive for this meeting?
Right, so when you look at the mood is, the temperature is very terrible and very intense. And I can spot the leadership just walked into the meeting. I'm going to brief the entire constituent. I have seen Mr. Isaac Bampuado, who is the leader of the forum. I've also seen Jacob Onu, the president of NAGA. I've also seen the General Secretary of Mr. Thomas Kanku, and I sense there's going to be an announcement, a major announcement for a nationwide strike coming Thursday, because organized labor feel that government has not shown some level of respect. Government also has not shown some level of commitment, and government have acted in a state of bad faith.
Daniel, I want you to hold on. When I come back to you, I'll let you take us through the processes. But we also know that there's another front of labor that seems divided over this whole strike. Just hold on. We'll play that, and then we'll come back to you for you to take us through the processes.
The major issue facing Ghana, or which is outside there, is about the illegal mine. People call it galamsey. We are all against it, and we condemn it in no uncertain terms. That those who are destroying our water bodies and the environment, we
illegal
are
mining
against
activities
it.
In
And
them.
you
These
urge
rivers have been
the
polluted with mercury,
and all authorities
lead and
to use
cyanide,
any
thus posing a
legal
threat to
means
aquatic
to stop
life
it, to
and
protect
humans
our
who rely
environment
on them
Ghana.
for
I'm
survival.
from Cuttack.
The Densu River,
And others
which
are from
takes its
other
source from
campuses.
the Etiwa Forest in the
being
eastern
it
region
Utah,
and enters the
being
Gulf
it
of
other
Guinea at
professional bodies.
Portano in the Greater
We
Accra
were
region,
not
continue to
consulted,
provide
and
safe
we have
drinking
not
water
been
to
involved
millions
in
of people
any
in Accra.
activity that they
However,
have been doing.
the river is now
The way
heavily
they are
polluted.
rushing to declare
The
the
state
strike,
of the
if they have
river
been
in
using
Islam
the
in the eastern
same
region
energy
is troubling.
in fighting
Residents
for
who
our
rely on the
welfare,
water
then
for
things
their
would have been
daily
better.
chores
We don't
are
know
no
the
longer
energy. We don't
able
know
to use it.
where they are getting their energy. We want them to come back to us. To come back to us. Come and draw with us. For all of us to have,
by 5 days and 6 days
to have our
ago,
views. So
you want
far
to
as
see
it
a
is
color be say
concerned,
that you say you to make that
we
color
want to
go
declare
here.
strike.
Aye,
Other than
in time I want to miss
executives
Sony
will
yeah,
take
it was a senior
and
magistrate.
bring it down to
I was
local
8 minutes.
unions, so that the
So
local
they senior
unions
review.
will also
So why would you want it to so I
So you
should
heard, Dr. Solomon Kwatin Foko, his spokesperson for the concerned organized labor, speaking to journalists earlier today. Daniel Opoku is still on the line with us. So obviously, I mean, you can tell that this particular group, which is part of organized labor, is unhappy about this. Is that what you suppose probably could be fueling the tension you talked about just some few minutes ago?
This is a group, I think, that's concerned members of organized labor. I have not spotted the man in here. But the temperature I'm taking is that labor is likely to proceed. Because there are over 170 labor unions across this country. So when we put all the unions together, based with their members and their constituents, each union, when we put all of them together, we have 170 of them. So if one group decides not to join, then obviously that's a decision. But that is not any news. Currently, as I speak to you, within organized labor as a body, there are other unions who really do not think that the need for a strike is necessary. But with the interest, they believe that with the interest of the general public and also for a collective decision, they may have to back this call. For instance, if organized labor as a body decides not to proceed on a strike, UTAC says that as an independent union, we'll go ahead with this nationwide strike. But the temperature I'm taking now doesn't look like organized labor will want to review its position. Organized labor is likely to proceed with a nationwide strike.
And very briefly, Daniel, if you can take us through the process from now until the strike on Thursday.
Right. So from right now, they may have to brief their constituents, and after briefing their constituents, in case they buy into the need for the strike, then hopefully by Thursday, they should have an official announcement on the nationwide. But there are those who believe that after the briefing today, the decision they'll make today, they should even declare the strike right after the decision that they have taken. So in case Labour is able to conclude, today is the 7th October, 7th day of the month of October. So if Labour is able to conclude and make a proper announcement that we are starting the strike, means that then they are beginning a nationwide strike before the 10th of October, and that is really, really going to worsen the current situation. Others believe that let's embark on a strike for about 3 days. So Labour can decide to make an announcement till the end of the week that the strike should proceed, and that is going to be extremely difficult for government to handle.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Labour Affairs correspondent Daniel Opoku. We stay on labour-related issues because the Public Service Workers Union of the Trades Union Congress NIA division nationwide strike is biting hard as many applicants of the National Identification Card remain stranded across NIA offices in the country. The workers began an industrial action this morning over the government's failure to operationalize the newly approved scheme of the service. The unhappy stranded applicants find the situation very unfortunate, considering the fact that foreign nationals are being attended to under the Foreigners Identification Management System and the locals are refused entry to the premises. And Sarah Pinko is monitoring the effect of the strike here in the Greater Accra region. First, she joins us live on the line. What's the situation like at the NIA office currently? And if I may ask you two questions in one, why they are deciding to attend to foreigners and not locals?
It is rightly so. Here at the NIA office is that of frustration and angushness by the stranded applicants here. The situation currently here is the fact that I understand the Foreigners Identification Management System, the FIMS, is actually being managed by an outsourced company, a contract to some organization. So they are not strictly workers from the NIA, and so they are attending to the foreigners behind in the building behind the main office, but rightly so in the same premises. And it's quite distressing over here. The applicants are coming from far and near. Some are coming as far from Kumasi, and they said they did not have any notification that they wouldn't be getting access to the premises. Unfortunately, you know that government also announced that it will be starting the registration of children from 6 years to 14 from today. And so we had some guardians coming here with their young ones to get them identified and then get a card for them, but they were also denied access to the premises. And it's been a Herculean task for the security, who also have to be explained again and again to any new applicant who come here since morning till now on the development on the ground.
I can imagine what's going on there. Sarah, I want you to hold on. We want to hear some of the stranded applicants and then we'll ask you what authorities or officials are saying. Just don't go away.
Yeah, I'm okay. Say, and I'm okay strike. Now, I'm okay, so I'm okay strike. The only answer I'm going to notice is that I have my chest. I hope one of them, I see a baby before foreigners. I'm going to move to me.
And you just had one of the applicants complaining about the fact that foreigners are being attended to and locals are not being allowed even into the premises of the NIA right here in Accra. Sarah Pinko, can you tell us what officials are saying?
Well, Beatrice, I haven't been able to have access to engage any of the authorities. I'm told they are in a meeting outside the premises regarding the strike. So there is nobody really available to speak to the media as of now.
Thank you very much, Sarah Pinko. She's reporting live from the NIA head office in Accra about some workers, actually the workers there who are on strike, not attending to locals, but we understand foreigners are being attended to. In the Shanti region, most NIA offices remained locked significantly after the refusal of staff to report to work in compliance with the strike directive from their leadership. Now, the Accra High Court has adjourned to October 16 the case in which the People's National Convention flag bearer Bernard Mona is challenging his disqualification by the Electoral Commission. Bernard Mona filed a suit with the court challenging his disqualification from contesting in the December 7 presidential election by the Electoral Management Body. The EC had said that Mr. Mona failed to meet its requirement after scrutinizing his nomination forms. Bernard Mona is praying the court to prevent the EC from further carrying through with any electoral processes, including the printing of ballot papers, until he is reinstated in the race. Stanley Niblo was in court for us. He joins us live on the line. What other details can you report for us?
Great. So this morning, just as Bernard Mona weeks ago, filed his nomination, he was subsequently kicked off the race by the Electoral Commission. He headed to court to ensure that the Electoral Commission gives an order that would compel the Electoral Commission to actually reinstate him into the race so that he can contest the 2024 presidential elections. But unfortunately, today was supposed to be the verdict of the court hearing, but they were in court. Bernard and his counsel were in court, but the Electoral Commission didn't show up. And the counsel for the Electoral Commission had also not filed their response in affidavits to the suit against the commission and the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, that is Madam Jane Mensah. And so the court, presided over by Justice Apietu, had to adjourn the case to October 16th. And for the counsel for Bernard Mona, he thinks that this delay is actually a deliberate attempt just to waste time and also get his clients off the race totally. And so that is what they were in court to tell the media. But in the courtroom during the proceedings, the chairperson, the counsel for Bernard Mona, argued that this application that they have filed with the court is time bound, and so it is necessary or to be prudent for the court to expedite the hearing so that their clients or his clients would get back onto the race.
Stanley, we'll have to continue this discussion very later. And that's it for the news here on 3FM 92.7. We'll certainly bring you more of that in our subsequent bulletins. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Coming up shortly is Business Daily with Michael Ogbodu. Stay with us.
On this frequency, 92.7 3FM.
Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7 with me, Michael Ogbodu. Coming up, fuel price is projected to keep going up as Brent crude is rising again, reaching $78 per barrel from $71 per barrel in just September.
The situation sustained and oil still keep up above the mid-70s. Yes, we'll likely see pump price again inching up.
Also, economists criticizes government's recent economic gains amid IMF staff level agreement for third review, highlighting persistent hardships for Ghanaians.
If you look at the macroeconomic indicators, maybe it will tell you that the program is doing well, but I think underneath that, Ghanaian businesses are really suffering.
And later, a new report reveals high tax rates and forex issues threaten Ghana's petroleum industry. We'll bring you details of the Deloitte October 2024 Oil and Gas Industry Survey. These and many more coming up shortly. Please stay with us. Thank you so much for your time. Straight into our top story. Brent crude is rising again, reaching $78 per barrel from $71 per barrel in September. Close to 10% jump in price. What are the possible impacts on local pumps with the current cedi depreciation? Energy strategist and chief executive of Eureka Energy Solutions, Dr. Isif Suleiman, fears fuel prices will keep going up in the future.
We are always vulnerable. We have weak structures. We haven't had local refinery. We haven't had storage that can give us that kind of buffer that we need. And so we are always vulnerable to kind of this geopolitics premiums when they do hit. Yes, so the market is not friendly. It will depend on, the next window will depend on how this situation will sustain. If this situation sustains and oil still keep up above the mid-70s, yes, we will likely see pump prices again inching up. Unfortunately, that is the case if oil prices don't drop as a result of this war premium still persistent within the Middle East.
So that was energy strategist and chief executive of Eureka Energy Solutions, Dr. Yusuf Suleimana, speaking there. Now, a new report by professional services firm Deloitte Ghana has identified high tax rates and challenges in accessing foreign currency as major threats to Ghana's petroleum industry. The October 2024 oil and gas industry survey reveals that these issues are impacting the sector's profitability and competitiveness. This report has more.
Tax-related challenges continue to threaten Ghana's petroleum industry, with high tax rates cited as the most pressing issue. According to Deloitte's October 2024 oil and gas industry survey, 46% of stakeholders are concerned about the impact of taxes on profitability and growth. About 42% of industry players are calling for tax amnesty to create a more conducive business environment. The report also highlights difficulties in acquiring foreign currency, with 80% of players facing challenges in meeting their payment obligations due to high exchange rates. Industry leaders believe that intervention by the central bank to improve foreign exchange availability could be crucial. Meanwhile, the survey indicates that 91% of stakeholders find local content regulations sufficient to promote Ghanaian participation, although only a few believe these regulations discourage foreign investment. Additionally, the importance of transparency in ESG, environmental, social, and governance practices is emphasized, with a rating of 4.22 given to companies for disclosing their environmental and social impact.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Now, Nigeria's gross domestic product GDP is projected to nearly double by 2026, largely driven by the operations of Dangote's $20 billion refinery, according to a recent report by Data Services and Resources Limited. The report, titled Impact of Dangote Refinery on the Nigerian Economy, reveals that without the refinery, Nigeria's GDP was expected to grow by 3% in 2024, increasing to 4.13% by 2030. However, with the refinery in operation, GDP growth is projected to rise to 4.15% in 2024 and reach 6.21% by 2030. This report has more. Nigeria's GDP at current market prices is forecasted to grow from 234.43 trillion naira in 2023 to 304.8 trillion naira in 2024, with further growth to almost 365 trillion naira in 2025. By 2026, GDP is expected to hit approximately 432 trillion naira, reaching nearly 807 trillion naira by 2030. Designed to process 650,000 barrels of crude oil per day, the Dangote refinery is facing challenges securing enough local crude oil and has had to rely on imports. Once fully operational, the refinery is expected to reduce Nigeria's dependence on imported petroleum products and boost exports of refined products, improving the country's trade balance. The report also highlights that by reducing fuel subsidies and generating significant tax revenues, the Dangote refinery will strengthen Nigeria's fiscal position, providing critical resources for infrastructure and social development projects. Now, that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Away from that, economist Dr. Patrick Isuming has strongly criticized the country's recent economic gains. He argues that the positive outlook, which has facilitated a staff-level agreement for the 3rd review of Ghana's economic program, does not reflect the reality on the ground. Many Ghanaian families and businesses continue to face significant economic hardships. Dr. Isuming made these remarks during a media briefing at the quarterly economic roundtable by the Finance Ministry and the University of Ghana, themed Driving Economic Growth Through Small and Medium Enterprises.
I don't think at the moment the improvement in the macroeconomic indicators we've seen really reflect how people, or has translated into the lives of ordinary Ghanaian businesses. We've achieved this. For instance, government's fiscal targets have been achieved by imposing more taxes and burdening ordinary Ghanaians. Utility tariffs are rising, the cost of doing business is rising. The recent inflation number told us that inflation on domestically produced items is way higher So all of those will tell us, regardless of growth being higher than projected or inflation coming down, we still know that the inflation we have is still extremely high. So I think if you look at the macroeconomic indicators, maybe it will tell you that the program is doing well, but I think underneath that, Ghanaian businesses are really suffering.
So that was economist Dr. Patrick Esume bringing an end to Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more business stories, please check out our website at 3news.com/business. I am Michael Ogbodu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe.